Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're reaching a whole new type of low here. Low that I mean is cancerous to society and dangerous to society. This video may be a bit long, but I'm going to show you exactly what the ramifications are and how bad it's going to be if we allow these woke and terrible ideologies to break through into our country. Because as of right now, it might be fine. But we're seeing actual bad stats of these woke ideologies poking through our country and seeing the immense amount of damage. Right now, I'm going to show you a clip of what they're trying to do with doctors, why the doctors are in low percentage of what they want to do, and try to do more diversity hires, etc., to try to make it better and more equality type stuff. Well, unfortunately, it's going to have dire consequences if they do some of these policies. Take a look at this clip.
Fewer than 6% of doctors in the U.S. identify as Black or African American. That's despite the fact that the community makes up 12% of the country's total population, and that's raising concerns about the impact on public health.
CNN Health reporter Jacqueline Howard joins us now. So, Jacqueline, what is being done to rectify this?
That's the thing, Bianna. More needs to be done to make sure that our physician workforce here in the U.S. reflects the diversity seen among patients. Now, what has been done so far, we've seen more efforts to get STEM programs in grade schools. At the medical school level, we've seen more mentorship programs, particularly for students of color. But when you look at the physician workforce right now, active doctors at this moment, we're still seeing 5.7% are Black or African American, and that's compared with, as Victor said, 12% of the U.S. population. When you look at Native Americans, less than 1% of doctors are Native American, and that's compared with up to 2% of patients. When you look at Hispanic or Latino physicians, 6.9% are doctors, compared with up to 18% of the U.S. population. So those differences are what's concerning here, and experts say we need to do more to make sure our doctor workforce reflects the diversity seen among patients.
Yeah, we need to do more because the research shows, and we've discussed this before, the benefits of a more diverse workforce. Sometimes doctors will dismiss the concerns or symptoms of a certain demographic. Explain what the studies show.
Exactly, Victor. And research shows that when we have a more diverse physician workforce, there's more understanding and more trust between the patient and the doctor. If the doctor has an understanding of the patient's cultural experiences, cultural background, lived experiences, especially when it comes to racism or discrimination or other aspects of their life, that can help with that physician-patient relationship. And we also see that patients are more likely to follow a physician's medical advice if they do have a feeling of being heard and understood. So all this plays a role in really improving public health, Victor and Bianna.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't really care what color or what type of race that my doctor is. All I care about is I'm hoping I'm getting the best medical care possible so they can treat what I have. But what these people are doing, these lunatics, are wanting to put diversity hires or force these type of stuff into these positions. Now, just because there's a low percentage of people does not mean that, it's a racial problem. No. Sometimes some races or some group of people would just prefer to be in other avenues of workplaces than others. That's normal and that's fine. Trying to force it to make it to seem like you care about people is a death waiting to happen. I hate to break it to them, but they're going to have a lot of death on their hands. Take a look at this. We have this here with med school. Med school should de-emphasize standards admission tests. Then we have this one here. So eliminating bias from medical school admissions. Less reliance on MSAT and GPA scores and more holistic view of the whole student and could drastically increase the number of Black medical students, one dean argues. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to let you guys know what MCAT means so that way you guys have a better understanding, because you may not know, you may not understand it, but I'll show it to you so that way you do. I didn't understand it at first. I may be the idiot that maybe not, but it just to clarify. And then, by the way, this as well, removing the MSAT could help improve diversity in medicine. Opinion. And this is obviously from Newsweek. This is why sometimes it's good articles and sometimes it's bad articles. And it's only 12% of medical students are the first in their families to graduate college. And from 2021 to 2022, the percentage of Black matriculants into medical schools decreased 9.9%. The MCAT only exacerbates this problem, adding an unnecessary barrier for unrepresented individuals entering medicine. The MCAT can be a determining factor in securing interviews for medical schools, with many schools having a minimum required score. Minorities on average score lower on the MCAT due to partly social and economic disadvantage. Unlike most of their peers, minorities often don't have access to resources to like an exam preparation course that can cost up to $10,000. Well, I'm going to show to you what this means. MCAT, guys, what it means is Medical College Admission Test. So this pretty much lets you know and make sure that you're qualified to be a doctor, to do the job that they're doing. Now that the fact that this is gone, or they want to remove this, or lessen it, you're going to have less qualified doctors, you're going to get more deaths and more issues. Okay? So, that's the problem here. Now, I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about when it comes down to this type of stuff. What I mean by this is, like, you'll realize that they want to do the same thing for planes, and then we're going to show you what the problem with what they're doing with planes. Take a look at this clip, and then I'll show you briefly afterwards what's wrong with this.
Percent of all pilots and flight engineers in this country are women, and only about 10% of that number are Black Americans, Asian, Hispanic, or Latino. So first on CBS this morning, we like when we can say that, I'm going to say it again. First on CBS this morning, United Airlines is the only major U.S. airline to own a flight school. It's announcing its new plan to train 5,000 pilots by 2030, and at least half of them will be women or people of color. Errol Barnett has the story.
2 decades ago, near runways like these, a Texas girl was discovering her love of aviation.
My grandmother would take my sisters and I to the airport to watch the airplanes take off and land.
A 6-year-old, Tashiana Smith, was hooked.
We could actually smell that jet fuel for a couple of days, and I still love that smell today.
So you've been addicted to jet fuel since you were a kid?
Yes, sir.
24-year-old Smith is on a lifelong quest to become a commercial airline pilot, an expensive ambition. Flight training costs an average of $100,000. So over the years, Smith earned several scholarships through nonprofit organizations. She clearly remembers the first time an instructor handed over the controls.
Once I started turning left and right, I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
She's following in the flight path of people like Marianne Schaefer, a 32-year veteran in the industry who is United Airlines' chief pilot.
I believe it's related to just the thrill of taking off and controlling the airplane and landing. It really is just a feeling of empowerment.
But both Smith and Schaefer say they'd like to see more female representation in the flight deck. Only 7% of United Airlines pilots are women, one of the highest percentages in the industry. And 13% of its pilots are people of color.
They simply don't have the access or the opportunity.
In an exclusive interview with CBS News, United CEO Scott Kirby is announcing a new effort to bring balance to the flight deck.
We're excited at United to be announcing the United Aviation Academy to address the structural issues with the makeup of our pilots.
Okay, so they're actively trying to want to push more people or more races or whatever into by 2030, 20,000. Okay, that's great and all, but are you going to lower the expectations? Well, it seems that they are. So what I'm getting at is that these companies are going to lower the standards for, I guess, more racial people or more black people in this aspect to get into this. Now, here's the defining problem. This is the damage that they do when they lower the standards. And this will all play into the exact effect what I'm talking about when it comes down to the medical standards.
2001, decades ago. But like so much else, that began to change immediately after Joe Biden became president. Biden imposed the principles of equity on the airlines. And that meant dramatically lowering hiring standards for pilots and for air traffic controllers. And disgracefully, the airlines went along with it. Result? There have been several near disasters in aviation recently, with hundreds of lives at stake in each case. Last Wednesday, for example, a United flight was coming in for a landing at Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. The aircraft was low enough that passengers could clearly see the runway. Right before landing, a plane on the ground taxied out into the path of the United flight. The pilot aborted the landing so dramatically that people on board were terrified. It was another near miss at an American airport, though this one never made the news. What's happening here? We wanted to know what is going on in commercial aviation. Clearly something is. So we reached out to someone who's flown for the airlines for many years. The following account was written in December by a veteran United Airlines pilot. Under its woke CEO, Scott Kirby, United Airlines has allowed politics and racialist ideology to trump safety concerns. According to this pilot who works for Scott Kirby right now, those decisions have put the lives of passengers in grave danger. Quote, "Name redacted just told me about a B777 off Maui that almost crashed 2 nights ago. Both pilots became disoriented and pulled out of a dive 300 feet above the water, pulling 2.5 Gs. I'm just home from Denver Training Center. There's some real horror stories out there about United, but management is hell-bent on just ignoring what is going on. The investigation is still ongoing, but the captain of the Maui flight was brand new. There was a new hire first officer, and my understanding is that we almost lost an airplane for no good reason. Both have been sent back to go through the 4-week course. The new hire here on my fleet is a nightmare. It took him 50 hours to get through initial operating experience. Worse yet, talking to his instructor, out of his 25 landings in the simulator, 15 ended up in the dirt. Not one of them was on the center line of the runway. They said his radio work was like that of a private pilot. He has no situational awareness. I'm jump seating to SFO right now. A United B777 first officer is next to me. She said the training is totally inadequate for new hires. Her husband helps train them at United's in-house pilot academy, Aviate. He's constantly asking these kids who come in, has anyone told you what this is? Many have no idea what they're getting into. They're hiring people straight out of high school now. Zero aviation knowledge or desire. It's just about the money and adhering to ESG. End quote. And it's not just United. It's everywhere. Southwest Airlines' in-house pilot training program, called Destination 225, has dramatically lowered its standards. Many of its graduates wind up working for a charter company called Swift Air, which is under contract from the Biden administration to fly illegal aliens around the country without the American population knowing about it. But other graduates wind up flying for Southwest Airlines. Last year, a newly hired first officer on a Southwest flight, formerly a flight attendant, hit the runway so hard on landing that a crew member was gravely injured. So this is what it looks like in real terms when you decide that identity is more important than aptitude in something critical like aviation. At some point, many people are going to die because of this. You should know that.
And I'll repeat exactly what Tucker Carlson just said. Many people are going to die from this. You should know that. Because it is exactly what's going to happen. What is happening in the airlines with their reduction of actual being able to have to be in there to be in there, is the same thing is going to happen in the medical field. People are either going to end up being maimed, killed during surgery, die from all these other things. It will be a complete mayhem and destruction of the medical industry. People will die. There will be lawsuits. There will be massive problems. We do not want to get there. So, I guess you guys all need to be prepared. Because if Biden gets reelected, God forbid, or any Democrat for that matter, or if you're in a Democratic state, God forbid, you're most likely this will end up coming. They're removing the MCAT, and then at that point when they remove it or lower it, you're going to get bad people that are not good for the medical standards that is for you guys to get treated, and people or you that is going to be the cause of this, that will be, the victim of this, are probably going to die or be maimed or what have you. All in the sake of equity and more people into the force. Yes, see what this does? This is not helping people. This is killing people and seriously injuring people. I think it's time to wake up. You've seen the evidence. You're seeing what's coming out of this. We already have tests and tests about this. Do we want to repeat it again? I think it's up to you guys to decide. You can't fight this, Democrats. Can't fight this.